The Dallas Cowboys have just set in motion one of the most fascinating off-seasons in recent franchise history, and it begins with a move that signals both urgency and caution at the same time. By placing the franchise tag on wide receiver George Pickens, the organization didn't just retain a star pass catcher. They bought themselves time, leverage, and flexibility in a roster construction puzzle that has become increasingly complex in the modern NFL. This is a chess move, not a checkers move, and the implications stretch far beyond one player or one contract. The franchise tag historically reveals how a front office truly feels about a player. When the Cowboys tagged Dez Bryant in 2015, it was a declaration that he was a foundational piece. When they tagged Dak Prescott, it was a high-stakes standoff that ultimately reshaped the quarterback market. Now, with Pickens, the situation is more nuanced. He wasn't drafted by Dallas. He doesn't have years of institutional equity, yet the team clearly believes his talent is too valuable to risk losing. That tension between long-term commitment and short-term control defines the entire decision. What makes this move especially intriguing is the non-exclusive tag. Dallas is essentially daring the rest of the league to set Pickens' price. If another team presents an offer, the Cowboys can match it. If they decline, they receive 2 first-round picks, a price so steep that it discourages most suitors. This is leverage disguised as vulnerability. It allows Dallas to maintain negotiating power while avoiding the panic of a ticking free agency clock. The July deadline now becomes the focal point of the offseason narrative. But this decision doesn't exist in a vacuum. It connects directly to the team's broader roster strategy, particularly their aggressive financial maneuvering. By restructuring the contracts of Prescott and CD Lamb, the Cowboys suddenly created massive cap flexibility. These restructures are not just bookkeeping exercises. They are declarations of intent. Dallas is positioning itself to be active, not reactive, in free agency. They are clearing the runway for moves that could reshape the roster on both sides of the ball. This financial reset also signals belief in the offensive core. Prescott and Lamb represent stability in an offense that has carried the team for years. Adding Pickens to that equation long-term would create one of the most formidable receiving duos in football. But it also raises strategic questions. Can Dallas afford to allocate so much of its cap to the passing game while the defense undergoes a transformation? That balancing act will define the success or failure of this offseason. Because while the offense appears secure, the defense is entering a philosophical overhaul under new leadership. Defensive coordinator Christian Parker has made it clear that intelligence, physicality, and adaptability will be the cornerstones of his system. He isn't looking for track athletes in shoulder pads. He wants thinkers, competitors, and players capable of executing complex responsibilities. This emphasis on mental processing represents a shift from past approaches that prioritized raw traits over football instincts. That philosophical shift matters enormously when evaluating the draft strategy. Dallas holds 2 first-round picks, 12 and 20, giving them rare flexibility. Executive Vice President Stephen Jones has already hinted that trading down is on the table, a statement that feels less like speculation and more like calculated signaling to the rest of the league. If the top defensive prospects are gone by pick 12, moving down could allow Dallas to accumulate additional assets while still addressing needs. And the needs are substantial. The combined visit tracker reveals a heavy focus on linebackers, defensive linemen, and cornerbacks. That pattern tells you everything about the internal evaluation of the roster. The Cowboys believe the defense requires an infusion of youth, speed, and versatility. It also aligns perfectly with Parker's vision of a cerebral, aggressive unit capable of adapting to modern offenses. This is where the draft becomes not just about talent acquisition, but identity formation. Prospects like Sonny Styles or Mansour Delane represent the type of players who could anchor a new defensive era. Meanwhile, edge rushers such as Akeem Masitter offer the kind of disruptive potential Dallas desperately needs. If the board doesn't fall their way, trading down becomes a logical contingency rather than a desperate reaction. Right now, as you're watching this unfold, you're witnessing a front office attempting to synchronize 3 timelines at once: retaining elite offensive talent, rebuilding the defense, and maintaining financial sustainability. If you're enjoying this deep analysis and want coverage that goes beyond headlines into real strategic insight, Make sure you subscribe and stay locked in, because this offseason could redefine the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. Another critical subplot is the internal development pipeline. Championship teams don't rely solely on star acquisitions. They depend on young players making leaps. Dallas has a history of late-round picks and undrafted players emerging into significant contributors, and the organization is counting on that trend continuing. Names like Siobhan Revel and Kalen Carson may not dominate headlines now, but their progression could determine the depth and resilience of the secondary. The safety position illustrates the uncertainty facing the defense. Veterans like Malik Hooker provide experience, but age and cap considerations loom. Donovan Wilson's future is unclear, and younger options remain unproven. If Dallas fails to secure an elite safety prospect in the draft, they could enter the season with one of the league's most volatile backends. That instability would place enormous pressure on the pass rush and cornerbacks. And then there is free agency, where temptation often clashes with discipline. The Cowboys have been warned against pursuing certain high-risk options, particularly at linebacker. Past mistakes have shown how quickly a flashy signing can become a liability if the fit isn't right. Parker's emphasis on intelligence and grit suggests the team will prioritize scheme compatibility over name recognition. All of these threads converge into a single question: what kind of team do the Cowboys want to be in 2026? The answer appears to be a balanced contender built around an elite passing attack and a smarter, tougher defense. But achieving that vision requires precision. One misstep in the draft, one overpayment in free agency, or one failed negotiation could unravel the plan. As the draft approaches, the possibility of trading down from pick 12 looms as the ultimate pivot point. If Dallas moves back and still lands impact defenders, the strategy will be praised as masterful. If they miss out on elite talent, the decision will be second-guessed for years. That is the razor's edge on which front offices operate. The franchise tag on Pickens, the contract restructures, the defensive overhaul, the draft maneuvering. These are not isolated events. They are interconnected pieces of a grand offseason blueprint designed to keep the Cowboys in the championship conversation while transitioning to a new defensive identity. It is ambitious, risky, and undeniably compelling. And as this story continues to unfold, the stakes will only grow higher. Negotiations will intensify, draft boards will shift, and unexpected opportunities will emerge. If you want to stay ahead of every development and understand not just what happens but why it happens, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this journey toward the 2026 season is shaping up to be one of the most dramatic in Cowboys history.